Yeah, and yeah, I know I'm still up. Shazmin, welcome to the show. You look absolutely gorgeous. Look at you.
I would like to hug you.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
So did you like the walking in?
I like the walked in.
Yeah, you
I
did,
felt
you
like
did.
I kind of marched.
Yeah?
Could I do it again?
You actually did. You
Yeah,
did the whole thing.
I was scared about the carpet.
Oh, yes. Me too. Me too. I was just like, maybe I'll just trip and fall in. But it
got
felt
you.
different. Happy New Month.
Happy New Month.
You look gorgeous.
Thank you.
And your eye makeup is everything. You are the perfect person to have this conversation with today. Why I say this is because you became a parent when you knew nothing about becoming one. No manual. On a normal day, there's no manual. And now you were young and you learned, and I love the relationship that you have with your son now as a teenager. So effective parenting and having your husband alongside you and walking this journey, is it possible for it to be seamless from day one?
Such a beautiful question. And I'll say I feel the greatest gift was not having a manual. The surprise of having a child and not knowing the perfection and how to have to raise this child, but allowing the child to grow and be, I feel was my greatest gift. But that being said, I also had a lot to learn because I knew at some point I had to let go of being part of that journey, which was I'm raising my son to prove to the world that because I got pregnant at 18, I didn't fail.
Yeah.
So at some point I had to step back and say, am I putting pressure upon my child to also turn out and have to be perfect? So that when people turn back and realize, all right, there was that girl we used to talk about, what is her child like? Was they fear that my child would be, inadequate in anybody's eyes? And so I worked on that journey very early, and I'm still working on it. I still feel as a parent, you're always working to allow the child room to be the child.
Okay.
And so I find that this conversation will be so interesting, and I feel it will be different because to look over, therapists, psychologists, coaches, you all study the different kind of parenting methods and, you study discipline and, parents come to you and they want their child to be disciplined and they want their child to be perfect so that as the child is perfect in society's eyes, the praise goes to the parents. And so parents feel great about, yes, I've raised my child. My child's a perfect A-star student. It's no longer about the child having this A-stars. It's all about you as the parent, hoping your whole family will be able to be like you guys are such brilliant parents.
Yes.
And so this conversation is powerful because when we look at traditional parenting, so traditional parenting has 4 kinds of parenting. So you have authoritarian parenting, you have the authoritative parenting, you have
Those two are different.
they're different. They should have named it different. They're drastically different.
Okay.
And then you have permissive parenting, and then you have the parent that is just not, available emotionally, mentally, almost physically, barely there, the barely there parent. And it was interesting because even when studying the different kinds of parenting, and then looking at the parents that came in. So it's almost kind of like, when a couple comes in for coaching and the couple comes in with, you need to fix my partner. I'm perfect. You almost have the parent that comes in with says, I'm exasperated. I don't know what to do with my child. They don't follow my rules, which is, inevitably hurting me and breaking who I am as a parent. So it's all about my ego, but I will not say that. It is, please fix my child to be this perfect being so that society will accept them and they can excel. And so I started to realize that looking at parenting, so if you look at the 4 kinds, and I'll touch it so briefly,
Okay.
because I want to really talk about conscious parenting today, which is not traditional parenting. So you have the authoritarian parenting.
Yes.
Now, authoritarian parenting is the parent that, will sort of want the child to grow up perfect. You should be perfect. They should never be rewards given for the good you do, the grades you get, the manners you have. It's expected of you. This kind of parent is the parent that, when the child will say, why, when I'm telling you to do something, it's because I said so. You do not question me.
Okay.
I'm the parent that wants you to be perfect and there's no other avenue. You should never fail. You are the child that knows by 7 or 8 you will be an engineer, you'll be a doctor, you'll be a lawyer, because you must make the family proud.
Okay.
And if you fail, there is drastic punishment, or there's emotional, needs taken away from you. There's a lack of love, physical attention, and you're never at the need of your child. And then you have the authoritative parent. So it kind of feels like it should be the other way
Yes.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was very interesting. So the authoritative parent is actually now the parent that sort of is more available to the child, really cares about the child, wants the child to grow up, to speak up. I want you to learn to have a voice. Don't let the world bully you. This is the parent that, when the child says, but why, mom and dad? The parent sits down to explain to the child why and wants to hear feedback from the child. So my saying is not the end. I want discipline in your life, but I'm willing to also hear your side, which is on the other side of that discipline. So this parent is very open, very loving, is very much there for the child. And then you have the permissive parent. Now, this is the parent that, I don't know if anyone's ever watched Mean Girls, but it's the parent, the mother doesn't have rules, it's the mother who, you can be anything you want.
Just be, fly, butterfly.
Exactly. But, fly, even if it's in the wrong direction, I'm so scared to say no because I might lose your love. And so as a parent, the rules are very wavy. I'm never going to step on your toes as the child because I don't want to lose your love.
Okay.
And then the last parenting is obviously the parent that isn't very available, sort of feels my job is to provide, I don't need to do more than that. What is emotional love? Like, what is a hug? Why would I bring you up any different? I'm doing the basic. So as a child, this is all you need. And so now you have 4 sets almost of children that grow up in such different ways into society.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because we've all grown up with traditional parenting. And then at some point when you have your child, you sort of will pick the best of what you like and you will impose it on your child.
Okay.
So note the word impose.
Yes.
And, the bits that you didn't like, you sort of feel I'm going to be the better parent because my parent was never X, Y, Z to me, so I will be this to my child. And, it's interesting because even that being said, just 3 days ago, my son turned around to me and said, I know as a father, when I have my children, I'm going to do things a bit different. And I cracked a joke and I said, you are touching my ego right now, my friend. Like,
what are you saying? What am I doing wrong?
Yes, and he laughed it and I prodded and I was like, wait, what would you do different? Because I kind of think aren't we doing everything? And he was like, yeah, I didn't say you're bad. I just said that there are things I would do differently. And he just moved on. And
oh my God.
Yes, and for a minute I thought about it and it made me scared.
Yeah.
Because my child touched upon a fear of, am I failing as a parent?
Yes.
Have I hurt you in some sort of a way that you need to do life drastically different? But that's not what he said.
Okay.
He just would do few things different. But my ego, my mind, my parental mind was like, I'm failing.
We're going to take a very short commercial break. Do you have an idea what kind of a parent you are? Are you a conscious parent? Are you aware? Are you letting them be whatever it is that they want to be? Are you part of their lives? Do you reward them or you just expect them to be perfect? 111-444-111. If you have any questions whatsoever, we'll get to that when we come back after this short commercial break with Shazmeen Bank. Welcome back to Full Circle with Wikali. A very good morning to you. Let us know where you're watching us from. We are talking about effective parenting. Do you communicate well? Do you communicate as a team? Do you feel like your partner is not on the same side as you are when you are disciplining the child or when you want to communicate something across to your children? 111-444-111. That is our SMS line. Whatever question you have about parenting, we have Shazmeen in studio who will definitely be getting into that. So it feels like we should run the bumper again and now start this conversation. Why is it important to communicate as a team, as parents?
Beautiful question. And so often it's normally just the mother that is left to bring up the child all on her own, because it's enough that a father is working and providing.
Yes.
And so his language is, I work hard, and that is putting the child through school, keeping a roof over your head, bringing the food inside. And as a parent myself, was I so loved? Was I brought up with hugs and kisses and put to bed at night? And so because I wasn't, and I wasn't attached to that kind of love, being a parent for me is like, I'm a parent, and I'm proud that I'm a parent, but I'm doing my duty, which is kind of like what my ancestors did for me.
Yeah.
So I haven't sat down to be able to think that when you become a parent, is they conversations you're supposed to have together. Because when you look at this generation of children, not even just teenagers, but the 9-year-olds, the 10-year-olds, the 11-year-olds, they're different.
Yeah.
They're children that are craving love from both parents in very, very different ways. There used to be a time just the love of a mother would kind of fill up the child. She would have the love of a mother and a father, and the child would grow up somewhat wholesome. But now you have children wanting, almost demanding, questioning silently, where is my dad? I understand that he's providing and I have a roof over my head. So technically we have this house, but the child wants the home. And so now at what point do both parents need to be able to sit down and say, what is our role together? Is it just you and then I come in at some point, or is it the two of us? And it was interesting because even when my husband and I were parenting, in the beginning, my husband pretty much thought, well, my role is providing, and then I come home and I'm tired and I'll sort of catch up with Gibran, but then, I switch on the TV and I feel I've done my duty for the day. But then at some point it was like, but our child wanted more. He wants more of your attention. He wants you to be the person when you come home, you take him out on the bicycle and you see the little things that he has achieved or she's achieved during the day. And it's no longer enough, the love of a mom, especially with the way times are moving, and there's some sort of an emptiness in the children right now, especially when I sit with the youth. And the youth say to you their secret, deepest thoughts. And they say, I wish, first of all, mom and dad were more together, and then more together towards me. So children are normally watching the dynamic between both parents. And then if they see that there's a tough dynamic between mom and dad, dare I ask for any more love? Because already it seems to be a struggle between the two of them. So whatever I'm getting, I'm just going to sort of sit with this. So it's for parents to be able to sit down and say, we chose to have a child together. We're choosing to bring up our children together. What are some of the beautiful values both of us have that we could introduce to our child, that we could have our child grow with? What are some of the beautiful principles that your family had, that my family had, not the ones that hindered our growth, not the ones that made us scared as children, but the ones that we feel could enlighten our children, could set them up for the world later on. Because as parents, we're so fixated on the perfection our children should be immediately, but we don't sit down to think as parents anymore, what is my child going to go through at the different stages of their lives? What are they encountering? What are they going through in school? As parents, we don't sit to listen to our children when they complain about school or complain about how tough teachers can be. Have you ever sort of noticed the dynamic of, how teachers have this authority?
Yep.
And they have it over a child, and sometimes it can break the child. But somehow when parents also walk into this school or this playground for teachers, somehow teachers have this effect on the parents as well. The parents sort of become, or go back to the childhood of, yes, anything you say is right, my child is wrong. But I encourage parents that you have to listen to your children, because sometimes children are getting bullied in school, or their greatness is not seen in a certain way, because the school systems still haven't developed a way to be able to say, this child is musically brilliant, but we're so focused on the A's.
Yes.
This child might not academically be so brilliant, but they could be the next superstar in basketball. But society's conditioned us to these perfect A's, how my child should be against all the other children, the extra tuition I need to do because my child must excel. But I forgot to listen to my child.
Forgot to love. To see
to
them, read
see
them.
and to hear them and to be a part of their lives and actually ask my child, what do you want? Do you find school tough? Do you want help or not? Are you enjoying school? Is there a particular teacher that might be difficult on you? Do you feel a teacher might behave in a certain way? Because sometimes students also feel the way the teacher behaves with me, I should accept it. But sometimes you don't realize that little belittling hits your character and could take so much away from you. I give you a beautiful study.
Okay.
By 4 years old, by the time any child is 4 years old, they are technically all geniuses.
Okay.
And they're born and they come and they structure themselves perfectly the way that they are. So by 4 you have all these geniuses. But by the time this child hits the age of 20, you only have about 10% of these geniuses left. And by the time they are in their late 20s, early 30s, there's only 2% of these geniuses left.
Oh my goodness.
And it's not that the genius goes anywhere. It's not that the genius is lost.
No.
It is that society has come and told children that you must color in the lines and you must stand in a line and you must stand up when I'm talking to you and look me in the eye and I will develop fear inside of you. And so slowly what you're doing is you recondition children because they have a neural pathway to greatness. And what you do is over time, by the time they're actually 17, they've heard 150,000 times no in their life and only 5,000 times a yes. So you neurologically tell this child who they will be, how they will be, who they will grow up, and you kill their genius.
We do that.
Yes.
You as the parent, you do that to your child.
Yes. Because
And we do it without knowing that we're doing it.
Absolutely, because what you do as a parent is when the child is born, you come and you slap on the child's first mask, which is you are probably funny, you are probably quiet, you are something.
Okay.
And then the child is growing up noticing that I make my parents laugh, so I must be the clown. Or I seem to be the child that, my parents are always praising and talking about. This child speaks so well. They're so clever from a young age. So you are telling the child who they should be. You're not allowing the child to consciously develop themselves. You're not allowing the child to make mistakes. You're consistently teaching children not to fail immediately. But it's like when you look at a baby, how many times does the baby have to fail before they can walk, before you tell the baby,
So
stop?
many times.
You will never walk in your life. You
my
are
goodness.
struggling to do this for the first year. Don't do it. You encourage the child to consistently walk until they can. But then you spend the rest of your life teaching your children how to talk and how to be brilliant, and then the rest of their lives telling them to keep quiet and that they're too noisy. But the real test in parenting, and this is the shift in conscious parenting, even when I went and studied and redid, a beautiful course with Dr. Shefali on conscious parenting, and it changed the paradigm from traditional parenting to real life, what should be taught as parenting now, which is, do we allow children to be without parents interfering and telling the child how to be, how to feel, how to think?
Where does discipline come in then?
So is it that we must discipline? Because there's so many brilliant books on disciplining the child, but there are no books on disciplining the boss and disciplining your partner and disciplining in a marriage. But why is it that we discipline the child? Because the child is young. The child is at an age where they will listen. You are
Yes.
the authoritative. But how come the child doesn't grow up telling the parent, you're not performing well, you're not doing well at work, you're not like the top in your business, why aren't you a CEO? But yet, with our children, we're doing the same thing.
Okay.
And so we live our fear, our deepest fear, through our children.
Oh my goodness.
Because as we watch our children grow up, they somewhere deep inside we forgot and we let go of the inner child with ourselves. So very often when, parents will bring the child for the coaching, it will start with the parent to heal the inner child inside of them so that they can now connect with the inner child or the child that is here now. Because the child is just growing, the child is just absorbing, but the whole world is somehow telling this child you're inadequate. And so when you put in discipline, what kind of discipline? Is it discipline where I will scream, I will shout, bedtime is 7:30 because I can see a wine glass at 9 o'clock and I need to wind down from my whole day? Because children will sleep when they're tired. So there is the whole, the child must go to bed on time and the child must sleep. Like, immediately, the minute at 8 o'clock I put you into bed, close your eyes, do not speak, shut
Even
off and
we
go
do
to
not
sleep.
do that. We get to bed and we don't sleep immediately.
Exactly.
But
So
we went that off them.
Exactly. But what if there was, instead of discipline, there was softer listening and not rules, but softer understanding? So that maybe bedtime is at 8 o'clock, but I will give you the freedom, if you're not tired at 8 o'clock, to read, not be on the phone, sort of think, maybe listen to a bit of music, maybe journal until you are tired. Because you will sleep when you're tired. It's the concept of feed the child until they're full. Don't leave the child hungry. But when the child is hungry, they will eat and they will stop eating when they're full. But it's so much more about the parent. It's so much more about the fear inside of the parent. It's so much about my ego and how I don't want the world to see me. And so I will raise you so perfectly before I even start to look inside of me. And so sometimes when you have parents that turn around and say, my child leaves a mess in the house, how do I talk to my child to be disciplined, to stop leaving this mess in the house?
Yeah.
I turn around and I say, well, marry the mess. Because the children come with a beautiful mess. And one day when they leave for university and they're off and they get married, that house will be so clean. But you wanted a home.
Yeah.
You wanted your children to learn that I can make a mess, but then it's how I come to you to talk about it. It's how I sit with you and say, let's pick it up together. But you have parents that are tired and want their children to be perfect. So pick up this mess, behave, don't do this.
Sit well. Sit on the couch, not on the carpet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Behave, eat properly, and you have parents that are disciplining, but disciplining while killing the little shine inside of your child.
So because they are absorbing everything that is happening around them, it is what you project or what you say. So it doesn't have to necessarily get to, I'm going to shout at you. It is consistently what I do, what they see, what I say, how I speak. That's how they pick up. So if I'm being a mess and I'm using cuss words, then why am I angry at the little one because they're using the same cuss words I'm using?
Exactly.
Because it's me. I am doing this to him or her.
Exactly.
When it comes to parenting, do we have to take roles? Like mom has these roles, dad has these roles. Probably because, well, dad will provide. Dad will be the one who will be the disciplinarian. So if I want to tell the child not to do something, I'll be like, I will tell your dad, and then I will eat quickly. It's like, do you want me to tell your dad? Then I will behave, So is it okay for that to happen, where you see one symbol as, one parent as the symbol of discipline and the other, I can be softer, mom is nice, my mom is, can be my friend.
How beautiful that we instill fear in our children so early in their lives, and yet we want them to conquer the world fearlessly. Mm-hmm. It amazes me. It amazes me that we have one parent that is the one that will scare you. But then as you grow up, I want you to learn not to be scared of anybody. But you learned it right under my nose.
Yes.
I taught it to you. And so what would happen if the child is not eating quick? And it's no longer about the child not eating quick because the child's having fun. The child is going to eat and they're doing it at their pace, and you chose to have this child, and so it requires patience you didn't even knew would come out of you. Mm-hmm. But it's because you have a list of 10 things you need to be doing in the moment. And so you need your child to eat fast so that you can move on with your day. And so you've forgotten to be able to be present in the moment with the child and just be. If they're making a mess, you make a mess with them. Because remember, when we grow up later in life, what are we telling people? Your mess is your message. But
embrace the mess that you are.
Exactly. But then when your children were teaching them, utmost perfection.
Yeah.
You must be at the minute you roll out. But you know, when you're born, you comply to everything I say. You're this helpless little being that needs me. And by the time you're 17, you're wondering who the hell I am and why I have rules in your life. But when you were born, you were so perfect and I loved you. And now you're 17 and I feel I can't even recognize you as a child, and you almost don't even look like me because you're turning out to be so different.
Yeah.
But it's as parents to be able to consciously shift within first as a parent, to see what is empty within me, what is ego within me in raising the child. Is there something about this child that I need it to be because of me, because of a lack inside of me? Because your children are your mirror. When a child is throwing a tantrum, where did the child learn the tantrum from? What did it see going on for it to learn to behave that way? Versus the child that learned to play in the mud and come in and be excited and show you the gooey mess that they are, and you embrace them in all that they are.
We grew up different. Totally different. You and that gooey mess. You'll go find a basin somewhere. Come clean. I want the clean baby who left this house. But that is what we're saying, that it is different now. It is conscious now. And when you look at the things that are happening to you now, the things that you're embracing now, imagine if you taught your child to embrace those things at a very young age. Please send in your parenting questions if you're going through anything. If you realize that maybe you're trying something different, or something that you've been doing has been wrong the whole time, please send that in 111 444 111. That is our SMS line. We're taking a very short commercial break. We'll be right back with Shazmin.